I'm going to record this. Okay. Just want to let you know it's recording. So I might send it to someone if they missed it or put it into my course or something like that for people to learn from.
I'll keep it clean then.
Yeah, please no cursing. Just kidding. Okay, cool. So the purpose of this call is to go from no idea to awesome outline. And maybe it's not no idea, but it's maybe too many ideas. At least that was the case for me. So I am assuming that if you're been thinking about writing a book for a while, or you have started and stopped and just kind of bouncing around, you might feel overwhelmed by ideas, analysis paralysis, and even fear of picking the wrong topic. Have you felt any of those yourself, Tim?
No.
Okay.
I think that's the honest answer. My current issue, I got 2 different books that I'm working on. Both I will eventually finish, but it's been an issue of when I sit down to try to do the work for something to actually come, so it's not that they're not stories. I'm not making something up.
Yeah.
But
it's nonfiction.
Getting it from in here out is the challenge.
And do you have an outline already? Or is that part of the reason why I jump on this?
I have kind of, sort of.
Okay.
A little bit, yeah. For the other one, no.
Okay. Okay, so maybe let's start with that one that you have less for, just because I wanted to walk you walk whoever listens to this through, kind of starting where if someone was like literally like, I'm just too overwhelmed, I don't even know what to write about.
Right.
For me in particular, when I did my first book, I wrote it copywriting for podcasters, but I was thinking about, should I write a book around psychology, or should I write a book around, I don't know, what else was I thinking of, like travel internationally or networking and connecting with people. Like there's lots of things I love salsa dancing, so I was like, what the heck should I write about? And ultimately for me, what it came down to was I thought, okay, I'm going to write a nonfiction book. So it's a book that actually is going to teach someone something. And I want to use this book as a tool to grow my business. So I want to use it as a tool to grow and sell more of my products and services. And I also was thinking, okay, what will this book be able to help me get in terms of speaking gigs and being interviewed on more shows and things like that, which then also will lead to more sales. Right. So I would encourage anyone who's listening to this to think of that primarily first. And if you feel like, oh, I still have 10 ideas, start with one. You can write 10 books, but you have to start somewhere. And don't try to jam all 10 books into one. It'll just sound convoluted. So I'd say, start thinking about what do you most want to be known for, and that's going to guide you toward the right topic. Okay. Then I also have an exercise, which I was going to do with folks, but maybe I'll explain what it is and you can just tell me kind of where you are if you've already skipped this section. But I have what I call the P.S.T. method. And I kind of like that because it makes me think of Pacific Standard Time, and we're in California. So, but it doesn't stand for that. So the P stands for Post-it notes or paper. The S stands for select or spider web. And then the T stands for timeline. So we'll talk about what those all are, and feel free to jump in with questions and stuff too. So the first thing with P is if somebody is still not sure what they want to write about, then my P step is to sit down with a big stack of Post-it notes. I've got like little baby ones here, or like I have more regular size ones. Different colors are fun. You don't have to have Post-it notes. You could do it in a Google Doc or on a piece of paper, just like a scrap paper. But what I like to do is literally just brain dump every idea known to man that I feel like I would want to write about. And I would even set aside a certain chunk of time. So do you feel like doing that, Tim, or are you past that step? Because I was going to say, okay, go for 3 minutes.
Yeah, I know what it is that I'm writing about.
Okay, so you're at the S stage. Okay, so I'll just finish explaining this for anyone who watches the replay. So I say set a timer. This could be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, an hour. Give yourself as much time as you need, or start with some and see if it goes. But literally just don't even erase what we talked about before of writing what you want to be known about, and just literally mind dump everything out. Because I think that sometimes I feel blocked if I'm not able to express and communicate it out of my head. And being able to write it down on paper really is helpful. So I would say write it on a bunch of sticky notes. Kind of fun. You could put them up on your wall, on your desk, everywhere. Just every idea that you could possibly write about. So that's the first step. The P is just get it all out. Then S is I often will even encourage people to go sleep on it, come back a day or two later with fresh eyes, because now you're going to look at all your different options with fresh eyes. And now start really honing in on what I want to be known for. And are there maybe 2 ideas possibly that when overlapped create a really nice niche topic that you could write about that maybe isn't as saturated? So for me, I ended up picking writing and podcasting because that's what I knew best and what I wanted to be known for. So I ended up writing the book Copywriting for Podcasters. And there was not a single other book out there just for podcasters on that. So this could be for anybody, if they're marketing and networking. It could even be how do you market at networking events? I mean, there's you can do any kind of combination like that. And that might also help you kind of narrow the scope and not be so overwhelmed. So my step for S, and maybe if you even have a sheet, if you have something you want to show us, that's cool. Or you can just describe it. What I do for S is I pick the topic, whatever I decide, I put it in the middle. And then using a tool online, there's something called Mindmeister, which I can also put a link to for anyone's watching the replay where this is. That's free that you can use, or you can just put on a piece of paper. So I put the central thing that I'm going to write about right there. Then my next set of brain dumping is where I write little offshoots, and I just write every subtopic that's possible about that topic. And then as I'm writing, I think of subtopics of the subtopics, and I just again, brain dump everything, but now it's focused on just that single topic. And to me, that ends up looking like a spider web because things are connected and stuff all over the place. So is that where you feel like you are, or have you already started crafting it? Now describe where you are.
I'm not using that process, but I'm probably partly in the middle of the brain dump with all the topic and all the subtopics.
Cool. What is your main topic, if you don't mind sharing?
For the one that doesn't have the outline, it's on decisions, decision making, and I'm really, it came out of attending, in particular, marketing seminars. But if you go to seminars on a regular basis, you see the same people.
Yeah.
A lot, right? Yeah. And you see certain people who are just at everything. And I don't go to a lot, but it seems like there's a handful of people that I always see. And they will ask the same questions every time. They'll make the same sorts of comments. And it dawned on me that my feeling is that they just haven't decided which of these programs they're going to stick to. Any of the speakers on the stage can make you rich if you latch onto that program and actually decide that that's the one you're going to use. But we have the shiny object syndrome and whatever else. And so, we can't say no to a good speaker or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And, and they're just not making any progress. And so I've interviewed a number of people about decision making and so that's the topic.
And who is the book for? Who's the
Well, it's basically people who are struggling to be probably online entrepreneurs, and working sometimes for years, working hard, and just probably going in circles or just not getting anywhere.
Right.
And I think this is a big piece of the puzzle.
I feel like that's something that I struggled with too, is I would go down a path for a while and I was like, oh, I'm not a millionaire yet, so it must be not working. And then, oh, here's another shiny object. Let me go do that one. And so you never actually make the progress that you want to make with anything because you keep on changing your mind. Yeah,
I think for me, at least, it seems like it's, the shiny objects don't show up while you're focused. Right? They show up when you hit some sort of hurdle, and now you're struggling to get beyond where you're at.
That's
and
true.
you can change gears and go over here. That looks so much quicker and easier, whatever. But when you're focused, that stuff just doesn't have a way of showing up. You have the blinders. You get the blinders on, and you don't see this stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, like a horse running a race. You just gotta put the blinders on them. Okay. Do you have a title idea? Not that that's required. I actually wrote my title
primary
late.
Title, the decision factor. Subtitle, I haven't looked at it in a little while. Something like the little key that unlocks big success or big dreams, something along that line.
Very cool. Okay, so my third step in the process is what I call timeline. So I basically look at all the spidery webs and I say, okay, I might even kind of circle the biggies that I know I want to include in the book. And then what I'll do is I'll just put them in an order where I think logically someone would need to understand one to the next, to the next, to the next. Hi, Sarah. So that's what I call the T timeline step, is kind of think about it logically. How would people go in order? And Sarah, just to
thing, right?
Yeah, so and that ends up turning into your outline for the book, because once you put it in logical order, then you're like, oh, this is chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and then writing it to me is so much easier after that. So Sarah, just to bring you up to speed, since Tim was the only one on, we kind of went through the process fast, and I'm asking Tim about where he is.
And now we're done.
Yeah, bye. No, just kidding. So, no, but I'll go over it again, and I would love to hear your feelings and steps of where you are. But just to wrap up this with Tim, so tell us a little bit about then, what are some of the things that you know for sure are already going to appear in your outline, and tell us a little bit about the state of the outline then.
Well, that's what I don't have a very good product of. I don't have the outline exactly.
But you have all like the spiderwebby ideas dumped out?
Yeah, well, kind of. Yeah.
Do you have it handy?
Documents here and there and over here, and notes from this interview and that one, and things like that. So they're kind of scattered, but I've been the progress that I've made so far on the book itself has been really just opening up the file and reading what I've got already, and then continuing with that. As long as that comes to me, then I stick with that, because there's a lot of time where I can open it up 100 times and just never have anything new coming.
Well, one piece of advice I would share, and then I would love to include the new folks who jumped in, is because you said earlier in the call that you feel like sometimes you're getting stuck in the writing, like it's not coming out. So what I would do if I were in your shoes, I would personally stop trying to write the actual book and go back to getting my outline structure nailed down by just going through all the notes and all the spiderwebby things everywhere, getting more clarity in what I do want to cover and when. I don't know, I feel like I'm super logical in a certain way. Like I think I'm creative too, but like if I don't have that structure set, I'm just completely overwhelmed. So I would be blocked too from writing if I was like, no, well, how is this going to fit in? Or, am I forgetting something over there? But if I have like a roadmap, which I see as the outline set, then everything else is like, oh yeah, this goes here and this goes here. And then stuff might just flow more easily.
Yeah. I've tried to do that, and I can run into that same issue of where does this fit in here in the outline.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but that's probably a good idea.
All right, cool. So I want to see some progress on that. I want to hear a report back from you. And you can feel free to stay on if you want to. So we've got Sarah, and then who else joined? Is it Brooke? Oh, and you're on mute. I can unmute you. Brooke, are you there? Someone from 480, Arizona. Who else could that be? Or maybe Sarah, as I think Sarah's in Arizona. Maybe she's kind of showing up on both. Sarah, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, there you are.
Oh, cool. Okay. Sorry. I was trying to be quiet.
Oh, that's okay.
Brooke is also here.
Oh, hey, Brooke.
That's my 23 number.
Okay, so you're 480 and you're the Sarah on the screen.
Yes.
Okay.
Because for some reason my audio wasn't working. I couldn't hear you guys for some reason.
Okay, gotcha. And hi there, Brooke.
Hi, Laura.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. So Tim and I were on early and we kind of walked through a bit of his full scope because he's a little bit advanced. He's already on what I would consider like step 2.5 out of 3. So what I thought I could go back over and explain it again with you guys. And if you want to actually take a few minutes to do each step in the exercise, where are you, Brooke and Sarah, in terms of your outline? Give us a little update.
First, you want to go first?
Sorry, Sarah. Go ahead.
No. I said, do you want to go first, Brooke? Please go first, Brooke.
Sure, I can go first because I don't have anything, Laura.
Okay, good. Well, we're starting fresh.
Very, very fresh. So I haven't even been able to check out the information on your site. I need to do that. So sorry, it's just been crazy. But I will get to it this weekend for sure.
Oh, nice. Well, I know how busy it goes. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And Sarah, how about you?
Well, I wrote my dissertation, and I need to turn that into a book.
Oh, interesting proposal. Okay, cool.
So that's what I need to do.
Okay.
It's outlined everything, but it's in a different format. It's in more of a scientific writing format.
Right.
Where, you have first your literature review, your introduction, your literature review, your method, your research questions, your,
right,
what you did, and then what you found, and then what it means. And that's usually like a good, method to follow. That's pretty much studied across the world. But, now I need to turn it into a book that people actually want to read because that format is super boring.
Right. And do you think you'll keep the same structure of the outline or even mess with that too?
Yeah, it needs to have a whole new outline.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, cool. Well, a very exciting approach here. I haven't worked with someone turning a dissertation into a book yet. I worked with people working on podcasts, turning it into a book, or blog articles. So I like this challenge. And I always say that because I was a big nerd in school, so I felt like I had to unlearn so much to change my writing from academic to writing that actually people want to read online, outside of the academic world. So I think that you're at least very wise to recognize that it needs to come in a different format for a more general audience.
Yeah, and I also want to broaden the audience too. So like this book, the book that I want to write right now is not a book for a scholarly audience right now. I don't want to write that book. I'm sick of writing that book. I want to write a book for a more general audience, and I feel like I need to come back out of, being so specialized that I can't, I need to disseminate knowledge in multiple realms and not just the academic realm.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. All right, exciting challenge. I like it. So what I was thinking is to tell you guys my favorite method. Tim already got a preview of how I like to approach the outline process. So when I first started, especially with my first book, I was feeling completely overwhelmed. I was like, what topic do I even choose to write about? Because there's like 15 billion things that I feel like I could talk about, like psychology or writing or podcasting or salsa dancing or world travel or whatever. And I just felt like a fear of picking the wrong thing or analysis paralysis. And I was just like, I was hitting a roadblock. So what I like to do for my first step, which I have a method called the P.S.T Method, which doesn't stand for Pacific Standard Time, although I like it because I'm from California and live in California. But the P actually stands for Post-it notes. So You don't have to use Post-it notes. You could just use like a journal or a piece of paper or a Google Doc. But if you do have Post-it notes, then grab them out, and can be different colors even. And what I like to do is set aside some time, and we could do that now. We could even set a timer for like 3 minutes and literally just brain dump every idea you can possibly think of what you could write about or what you might like to write about. You guys want to do that for 3 minutes? Well, and maybe Sarah, you don't have to do so much, but you could still, Sarah, though, maybe jot down things you for sure want to make sure you include, because some stuff you might let go of.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I'm going to set a timer. Let's just do a 2-minute power play here. And then I'm going to ask, especially Brooke, to share a little bit of what she wrote. Okay? Just go. So go. And I'll do it too, because I always have another book in me. So let me think. Ten seconds. Okay, time's up. All right, so let's put Brooke on the spot a little bit. Would you mind sharing a few topics?
I didn't get very many done. I wrote a bunch of question marks, to be honest. There's 2 that I did think about, but I couldn't get any further than 2 of them. And then there's a lot of questions around the first one, which I'd like to write like my story, but the questions about that would be to how to relate it to the audience that I want to speak to.
Right.
But just mainly, people being able to overcome self-doubts, people maybe living with disabilities, being able to overcome their own self-doubts and crush through personal limitations.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one. And then the other one was more related to my current business or what we're currently doing. So I kind of wrote like a how-to on how to take an idea to product launch in 8 months.
Okay.
So
like product development and product launching?
Yeah.
Okay. So we might be getting into a future step, but which of those calls to you most right now?
I think the story part would be, I don't know, the idea part or the how-to book is less vulnerable. So I mean, like that part obviously calls out to me a lot more because it's just kind of like, oh, this is a how-to type thing. But I also feel like there might be like a lot of things on the marketplace like that as well. So I don't know. I don't know the other.
The how-to, there's a lot, or the story, there's a lot?
Well, there's probably a lot for both. But the story being a little bit different in the fact that there is like disability involved and like really speaking to more that audience. And not just, I mean, obviously it could work for everybody, but speaking to people that may not think that they're capable of something, but like realizing they are.
Good. Okay. Before I ask you a question for the next step, Sarah, is there anything you wanted to share about if you did anything during the 2 minutes?
I wrote down a couple of things, like the game of higher education, or like the guide to first generation college parenting, right? Like a parent's guide to first generation college students or something like that. And then students' experiences in, like, I started in students' experiences in my college curricula, because that's the data that I have.
Right. Okay. Cool. And I have a bunch of stuff written on this page, but I wrote down stuff like psychology, teaching, traveling abroad, podcasting, writing, best-selling book launches, turn your podcast into a book, networking events, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the P step, is like brain dumping. And I would still, especially you, Brooke, I would encourage you, well, you already started to have ideas going down, but you could still spend a little time, give yourself a little space to just really still brain dump ideas, like of all over the place, like where you might want to write. Just because even if you love the idea you're already kind of formulating, you might see something else and see how it overlaps or how to work it in later. So maybe just give yourself a little more space to also let your brain just dump out everything out of its head before you move to the next step. Then you won't feel like you're leaving anything behind. And then the second step, the S, stands for select and spiderweb. So what I like to do is, after I brain dump everything on the Post-its, I pick the topic that I'm going to write about, and how I ultimately pick the topic. And I was even describing to Tim too, that sometimes it can be two topics where they overlap. That can often help you narrow in on what you're going to actually write about, because a lot of times the things we say we want to tackle, like launching a product, like that is huge. So, launching a product for electrical engineers, whatever, like if you can narrow it down, it often makes the writing easier, and it makes it more clear to whom you're writing, so that the writing inside is actually also more impactful to the person that reads it, that for whom it's right for. And same with you, Sarah, it's like all of college, or is it like a certain type or whatever. So like whatever idea you pick or combination of ideas you pick, that's your S, your select. And then I like to put it in the middle of a page, or there's a tool called Mindmeister that's free online. There's other mind mapping tools, but that one's my favorite, Mindmeister. And I'll put my main topic in the center, and then I'll also next give myself also time. So I'll set a timer, and I'll just brainstorm again everything that has to do with that topic. And I just like put it all over the place, like no rhyme or reason. I'm not trying to figure out what chapters I'm going to write or not. I'm just letting it all come out of my head. And it ends up to me looking like a spider web, because there's like, oh, I can do this and then that. And there's like lines everywhere and circles and stuff like that. So I would definitely encourage you guys to do that step. Oh, I wanted to say one more thing. That's why I was hesitating. Okay. And then another tip for really how to pick what to write about, because it is hard. And like, Brooke, what you're talking about is like your heart is more pulled to the heart story, and then like, but maybe your business is pulled more toward like the how-to side. So for me, I feel like if you're at the stage in your professional life where your top priority is to still grow your business, then I would lean toward going toward the book that is going to help you be able to leverage it for more things in your business. And that could be the heart story, or that could be the practical. Arguing you could go either way, but whatever you think would be most advantageous in that sense. So what I was thinking when I was writing mine, I was like, okay, I want to be a speaker on stage. I was feeling like tired of people not taking me as seriously as I thought they should. You know, I'd go to an event and people are like, say hi, but they were like looking past my head to go find a speaker and take a selfie. And I was like, I want to be a cool kid. I want to be a speaker. And I was like, okay, so I want to write a book that's going to help me have credibility established so that I can speak on those topics at those events that I would want to be at. So that's the way I was, because I was in my life at that time, and even still now, my top priority was growing my business. So I was like, I can write multiple books in the future, but my first one that I'm going to put my effort in now is the one that I think is going to help me go to the next level. And honestly, I didn't even care if I sold one copy, because I knew that the book still has all this magic dust around it to help me leverage it to get a bunch of more stuff, even if people don't really buy it. That was my perspective. That's not right for everybody. But if alternatively, if you're like, I just want to make a difference in people's lives who are going through a certain hard thing, and if it leads to other speaking gigs or business growth, whatever, that's cool, but my top priority is achieving this passion and mission, then go towards that one first. So I hope that is helpful.
Yes, very. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. And just remember too, you can write more than one book. So sometimes it's like, I can't pick. Just pick one, and then the next one is the next one.
Gotcha.
And once you do one, every one is going to come faster. Now, like, I don't even stress about it. And I'm like, my last one, if you guys saw me, I literally wrote my last one in like a week and a half. It was crazy. It's crazy. But yeah. So hopefully that helps you in picking, because I know picking is so hard, but ultimately you have to pick it.
Cool.
Okay. And then my third category, or my third step, which is T. And we could go backwards because we still have a little bit of time. So we could go backwards and do a little bit of time on the spider web. But to give you a preview, my third step, T, is timeline. So what I do with this spider web is, after I just brain dump everything, and again, I'll even like go sleep on it for a few days, take a complete break, and come back look at it with fresh eyes. It's so weird. Like, sometimes things just start to connect in a weird way that you didn't see before after you give it some space. And once you see it like all on one piece of paper, instead of keeping it all up in your head, you're just able to see these connections that I can't even describe the process. Like, it really does work just to give yourself, put it on paper and give yourself some space from it. So when I came back to mine, because I had just like words and ideas all over the place, I was like, whoa, there's not a single book for writing for podcasters. So it was just like a perfect overlap for mine. And then once you have all the spiderwebby ideas out everywhere, then what I did is, let's say you have 25 things that could be a topic. I would kind of look how I could group some, get rid of some. Okay, maybe that's in a book 2, a part 2. That's not really that important. And I would pick my top, I personally went like my top 10 to 12 things. And I wrote them out in T timeline in a logical way that I thought that someone who would want to learn that topic should learn it, in what order that they should go. Because when you have the spider web, it's like all over the place. But okay, if I have to put this in a logical order, what leads someone from one to the next? And so I would put those things in a logical order, and then that ultimately becomes the chapters of your book. Cool. And for me, I think, like what I was saying with Tim when you guys came on, is I think that having that chapter roadmap, after already going through the process of getting everything out of your head first, it really can be a helpful sort of anchor point, so that when you start writing, you don't, feel like nervous that you left something out, because you already had a chance to brain dump everything. So it's all, you've already like thought it through. And then 2, you're not like lost, like, oh, where is this going to go? If I write about it, I'm not sure where I'm going to put it. And it's just kind of like a clear roadmap. And to me, that just made everything flow really quickly. And you don't even have to write it in order. You could be like, oh, I'm going to write about chapter 5 first, because I like that. And you can just bounce around and fill it all out.
Is there certain rules in terms of like how long each chapter should be? That kind of stuff. Like how long the book it should be in general. Like
right.
How many chapters?
Well, I have some strong opinions about this. You'll have to read my second book to find out. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Okay, here's my honest opinion. Everyone and their mom has an opinion, so do what you want.
Okay.
All of it. Just own it. Who ca- Like,
Okay.
oh, you think that a chapter can't be one word? Too bad. I'm going to make a chapter one word.
Okay.
Ultimately, the point of the book, other than leveraging it for yourself, but the point of the book for the reader is to communicate entertainment, education, value. You can do that in one word. You can do that in 15,000 words. So like, I've flipped through little books that were 40 pages and loved them. And I also love Game of Thrones, and those are 1,000 pages each. It's not nonfiction, but still. So I'm like I get like all mad about this because like I get so mad at other people for telling us you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that. You know what I mean? So don't let that cripple you, because if it's valuable content, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if there's 1,000 chapters, 1,000 pages, or one. But I can tell you this, that the minimum number of pages you need to use Create Space in Kindle Direct Publishing's on-demand printing for books is 24 pages. So it needs to be 24 pages. That's the only requirement. And if it gets too big too, they won't print it. Say it again.
I said that doesn't even seem like very much.
I know, right?
But,
yeah, I'm like, that's
can I chime in?
Yeah, please do, Tim.
There's a guy named Dan Kennedy who was one of the top of the mountain marketing gurus, you know, and I really, excuse me, if there's a guy who knows what he's talking about, he knows what he's talking about. And he's talking about marketing and sales letters and that kind of thing. But I think it applies to your question, Brooke. It should be as long as it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever your chapter is, if you can say it in
right
sentences, that's all you need. That's fine. But if the next one takes 40 pages, that's fine too.
Right.
You don't want to. My personal opinion now, I guess, is you don't want to just throw a bunch of stuff in there and filler just to try to get to X number of pages, whatever you decided that's supposed to be. But if you've got a lot to say on a subject, say it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's definitely also, to Tim's point, I think also kind of opposite from the academic side of things. Because I remember, when I used to write academically, it was like you had to have a certain word count, a certain page number, and it was almost like you were supposed to just show off how smart you were by going on and on and on and like using giant words. But if your goal is to communicate a certain message and story to people, then just do that the best you can, and it's going to be perfect how it is.
Cool. Thank you.
Sure. Oh, Sarah, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I
was like, I saw a hand raise thing. I've never seen that before.
It says raise your hand, and I'm like, I never know when to jump into a conversation. So I figured I'd raise my hand.
Yeah.
Are these books that you're talking about like self-published, or what is the what's the publisher for these books?
Yes, self-publishing. So I'm a huge proponent of self-publishing. I've never done a traditional publisher myself, but from everyone I've talked to who has, they're just like the days of traditional publishers are numbered. They don't have monopoly on things anymore, and actually their deals are not that good.
No, they're not.
Huh?
No, they are not.
Yeah, you'll have to tell us about your experience. Did you get offered one and you're like, what the heck?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, multiple offers to write textbooks, and I mean, they say that they'll do cash advances for like the value of the textbook, but if you don't make the money, then they take it back.
Yeah.
Which depends on their marketing.
Right.
It's real weird.
Yeah. I've heard too, like in the nonfiction space, the traditional publishers won't even take people on anymore unless they already are big names, because then they don't have to do any marketing. They know it's going to sell. So it's kind of like, if you get a deal, they're like, great, here's your deal, go sell it for us. But they're not going to really put in the effort to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm the biggest fan of
By the way, you have to buy
Amazon.
1,000 copies.
Yeah, I know. Oh my gosh. I won't name her, but a former client of mine, she got a book deal. She was so excited about it. And she sent me the contract to look at it. And I was like, what's this about buying 5,000 copies of your own book? I was like, for that alone, I'm out. I'm like, I mean, I haven't done it, so I feel bad. I can't 100% give you full advice. But to me, that's like a red flag. I don't want 5,000 copies of my own book sitting in my garage because I'm not going to go sell all those. Like, oh my God. So, yeah. Yeah. So as an example, if this is helpful, this book is my first one. It is 8.5 by 5.5, which is pretty standard size. And it's about 360 pages because I'm a complete nerd. And it's super heavy. So I was like, okay, I'm never going to write a book this big again because even when I want to buy my own copies of it just to like give away as gifts, like it's not cheap to print and then, you know, ship this thing around. So I was like, okay, that is too big. For my second one, this one is 9 by 6. So it's just slightly bigger dimensions, but about the same as the other one. But it is, what is this? Like 170 pages or something? 175. So it feels like a real book. It could still be shorter. It could still be smaller and feel like a real book. But, you know, it feels hefty, but it's not overwhelmingly giant, if that helps you put it into context a little bit too for size.
So how much on average does it cost you to buy one book?
Good question. So this one, I think for me, it's $3.80 around, or $3.08, something right there. There's an 8 and a 0 and a 3. This one is like $5, $6, $7 or something like that for me to print. And then they charge you shipping too because they send it in a big box.
Is this Amazon?
Yeah. So I did this one with CreateSpace, which is an Amazon company. So even though the name doesn't say Amazon on it, they sync up together. It's seamless. It looks kind of like old school, their format. Once you log in, it looks like a little bit outdated website for usability, but it's an Amazon company. This one I did with KDP, which stands for Kindle Direct Publishing. That's what you'll do for the ebook either way. And when I did my first one, the KDP features were not robust enough to do the print. Or if they were, you couldn't buy copies of your own book at the basic print price. You had to buy it at retail. So if your book was priced at $15, $20, you'd have to buy all of them at $15 or $20 versus buying it at cost. Yeah. Wow. Now KDP does have more capabilities. That's why I tested it with this one. I personally still prefer CreateSpace a little bit over KDP because this is my proof copy, and they actually put this not for resale stupid thing on here. And I'm like, come on, if it's perfect, I'd want to like use it. Yeah. So that was slightly annoying. This one is not a proof copy, but when I did have the proof copy, it just had one page in the back that said proof copy, and you could just rip that out and it was totally fine. So that was a little bit nicer, but honestly, CreateSpace or KDP, it doesn't matter. They basically do the same thing now. Yeah.
And then are those both on Audible?
No, because I have been too busy to record it.
Okay, but it is something like that. It could be on Audible, like if you were to record it.
Yeah. And actually, I started recording this first one like a year ago, and then I never finished it. And I'm a podcaster, so I have no excuse. And I like pretty much will only listen to books now if they're on audio. I won't even read them. And so Laura, don't tell anybody.
That's your leader.
Hey, I'm too busy helping other authors. I don't have time for myself.
You know what? I met somebody a couple of days ago. She has a business. If you're an author and you have a book you want to be read, they will find people for you. And you don't end up with a big chunk of the pie at the end, but it'll be done in 90 days. You get to pick the people that you want to read it. And they do the marketing. So it's you pay a setup fee, and that's all it costs you, and then you get X amount of dollars afterwards. I'm thinking seriously about doing that for my first one.
And to add to that, just so you have another option to consider, Tim, acx.com. It's audio exchange, audio something exchange. I don't know. It is that, but it's Amazon's company for audiobook production. So you can go on there, and it's a 50-50 split, I believe. So anyone who does the audio read of your book, they get half of the sales of the audiobook, and you get half the sales of the audiobook. I don't think there's any marketing included in it, but that is another thing that maybe I'll just freaking do, so it'll be done. But I thought, I'm a podcaster, it should be in my own voice.
Yeah. But that whole world is changing too.
Yeah.
Audible used to be your only option, basically.
Yeah.
And I have tried, because I want to record my second one, and I'm struggling to get the sound levels in any room I try to do it from to get it low enough that it would pass muster for them. And I'm struggling with that, so I may just end up going the other route.
Cool. Yeah, check acx.com out and let us know too if you, play with it more. I might just do it too, because then I'll at least have it done.
And Laura, how many hours were you planning on needing to take for your audiobook recording?
Say it one more time. You kind of cut out.
Oh, sorry. How many hours were you planning on dedicating to that audiobook recording?
Oh, good question. There's like a ratio around how much, like how many hours of audio turn into like the edited version. I'm not sure what it is. I think it would also depend on how good you are with editing it yourself, if you plan to. Since I have a podcast and I used to do podcast production, editing the audio for me is not hard. I mean, it's still time consuming, but I wouldn't have a learning curve on that. So, what was I don't know. This thing is so freaking long. I don't know. I didn't even really have a plan. I think I was so excited that I hit bestseller, and then I had it printed, and then I was exhausted after that I just kind of was like, oh, I'll get to it one day. And now it's a year and a half later. But yeah, I didn't really even have a plan. So I'm not sure if I could answer your question.
Okay. Like a ballpark? I mean, like...
Yeah. Well,
you were able to... Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, okay, let's say you could read in an hour. Let's see, how many pages do you think we could read? 20 pages?
Out loud. Yeah, 15.
Yeah, and then edit it. Yeah, so let's say or even let's make it really conservative. Let's say 10 pages read and edited in an hour. So my book is 350 pages, so it'd take me like 35 hours.
Full-time work.
So it'd take a whole week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about reasonable, though.
If I really those one-word chapters.
Yeah, I need to see, Brooke. Yeah, just go back to the one-word chapters. It's much easier.
Done.
Actually, Gary Vee has a one-word chapter in his
Crushing
one of his
it.
books. Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
Throw the rules out. There are no more rules.
Yeah. So
Oh.
cool.
So has this been helpful?
Yes.
Yes. I need to go through your other material, so then I can kind of piece all of it together too.
Yes.
So yeah.
Good. Well, okay. Any other questions? We still have a little bit of time.
Yeah. Do you have any like strategies for, going through a dissertation and picking out ideas that are, useful to a wider audience and not just an academic audience?
Oh, okay. The first thing that popped into my head is, do you have a friend or family member who's willing to sit down with you for like, a couple meals over a weekend, and it's say it again? Or you
no, I was laughing.
Just laughing.
Sorry.
Yeah. But I was going to say it's your goal to communicate the entire dissertation to them. And so try explaining it to them and see where they get stuck, see where it makes sense, see where they're interested, ask them, tell me when you get bored. And then from that, you can start seeing, okay, here's the language I need to use more. Here are the stories that they really were like, oh, that's interesting. Tell me more on that one. This one's really like, I don't care about that stat. And, I would bounce it off somebody else who isn't in your world. I think that would be the most effective thing and fun.
Okay.
Do you have any victims in
Yeah,
mind?
I think
Just kidding.
I've exhausted a lot of my people.
Oh, no. Well,
having written this. Yeah.
Well, maybe Brooke would be willing to, and then in exchange, you give the same amount of time to her for bouncing ideas. You never know. Find a book buddy.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm open to that, Sarah.
Sure. I'm sure Laura will put us in touch.
Yeah. I'm sorry, just to volunteer you that, Brooke. Yeah, and I mean, it could even be like an hour. You never know. Like, just get on a Zoom and you guys talk for an hour and say, okay, here's what I'm thinking, da-da-da-da, and you give feedback, and then you guys can do another hour on the other direction, and you can just trade time for each other and trade your minds. Yeah.
Cool.
I would vote that you try to get more than one person to do it too.
Yeah.
Because obviously we don't know what you want to write on, but if you've got somebody who maybe they're a reader, but they don't have any interest in what you're writing about, that may not be the best feedback.
Right. Find like someone who's going to be in your target audience. So if it's like a parent or, a parent with a college age student or whatever, reaching out to a couple of those would be great too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's smart. Okay. Anything else? Oh, okay. Well, let me ask you guys, what other topics like this do you think you would find valuable to do like our call on? Or another way to put it is, where else do you feel like you are or will be getting stuck?
I think I'm going to get stuck on the writing part. Go ahead, Tim.
No, I was just going to say that I don't think I'm going to have the issue now, but I did have the issue, especially with the first book and with the second book that I did. It'll drive me crazy sometimes is getting the formatting, the interior formatting, right? Mm-hmm. There's quote unquote
painstaking
simple ways to kind of attack it, but that can be a real nightmare sometimes.
That's great feedback, because I'm now in love with Scrivener. I'm not sure if you've ever used that tool, but I refuse to use Word. I hate it. And Google Docs, unfortunately, is not robust enough, as I wrote my entire first book like perfectly formatted inside of Google Docs. And when I exported it for the type of file that they need for it to actually work in a Kindle, it was terrible. And so I had to reformat it essentially from scratch again. Anyway, long story. But I'm now in love with something called Scrivener, if you guys want to write that down. It's $45 one time. I think it's $45, around that. And there's a discount if you're a student. So Sarah might be able to get a discount. I think it's $45, 25 to $45. I can send you guys a link to it.
Yeah, can you? Because I don't even know how to spell that.
Sure.
Scrivener. I'm trying to sound it out in my head.
Yes. I'll send you guys a link. I'll find it, and then I'll even put it in the chat. But it's specifically made for writers, both fiction and nonfiction. So there is a little bit of a learning curve, just like any platform that you're in. But once you get the hang of it, I will never go back. And I personally, I'm planning to write more than one, where I've already have. But so I feel like if you think this is something that you're enjoying, and maybe you see the potential to write more than one book in the future, and I don't know, I think it's a worthwhile pursuit to check out Scrivener. Oh, and the cool thing about Scrivener too is they have a 30-day free trial, and it's not 30 consecutive days. So it's not like if you started now, it would be done on June 10th. It's 30 days of use. So every time you open the platform, it counts that as a day from the 30 days. So if you're like, oh, I'm just going to write every Sunday, then it will last you 30 months.
30 weeks, yeah.
Or 30 weeks.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
well, I'd be curious to see how you use it, because I've tried it and it just drove me crazy.
Yeah.
Couldn't figure out how to make it be efficient. So
yeah. Okay. That's a good one. I'll do another tutorial on Scrivener, because I feel like it's even valuable for where you guys all are once you start wanting to write. And even once you're like, okay, I've got my outline ready for my second book, I actually just typed my outline into Scrivener, and then I just wrote directly into Scrivener instead of writing it somewhere else and then copying and pasting it over. So knowing how to use Scrivener is something good to know right away if it's something that you want to give it a try. So that's a good one to do another call on.
Cool.
And then Brooke, what were you saying about writing? Tell us more about that.
Oh, you were just asking what like some problems are going to be. I think mine are actually going to be like getting the writing aspect done. I just got to set, daily goals to getting things finished on it. So, and then, working through the next step on what it looks like to get it to Amazon and all of that. But that's your expertise.
Yes.
So I think it would be a great help.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing I would say around writing, we kind of talked about audiobooks, but if you feel that speaking out your topic is easier than writing, I would just say a general recommendation is to actually just talk your book out, have it transcribed, and then you can edit it from there. So let's say you're like, okay, I'm going to work on this chapter and this section in the chapter, and you can just pick up your phone. You can use Audacity for free on your computer, and you could literally just talk it out and then have it transcribed. You can use trint.com, TRINT.com, and that's $15 per audio hour. So if you talk for an entire hour and you transcribe it, it's $15. And an hour of talking is a good amount of words. So that can really sometimes get you unstuck if you feel like you're a little stuck somewhere.
Cool.
Mr. Cotter. I have heard that Google Docs has,
yes,
you can record there and they will automatically transcribe.
You have to be using Google Chrome with Google Docs. Yes, there is a voice memo thing. I did a podcast on it. I'm going to just send you guys all a bunch of links that we're talking about. I did a little podcast on it with a tip on that, using your voice. It's not amazing, and you have to go back and clean up. So you have to clean up capitalization and punctuation and stuff. But if you're getting stuck on writing, sometimes just talking it out is what it takes to get you back going again.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So if you can get somebody to interview you about the topic,
yes,
it's a good thing too.
And remember throwing out all the rules. You could consider, let's say a chapter in your book is going to be like your story. You could prepare questions that you want someone else to ask you, record it being asked, and literally just transcribe it and just put it in the book. Like, here's my story told to so-and-so. Like, it doesn't have to be like written like in a certain way. Just put the actual dialogue in there.
Gotcha.
Yep.
That's very helpful. Yeah. Thank you.
Yay. All right, cool. So I will follow up with you guys with some links to things, and definitely let me know if you guys think of other topics and ideas, because I want to do more of these just pop-up things, and but I want to do on topics that you'll want to really know about. So it's good feedback.
Cool.
Cool.
Thank
All
you,
right. My pleasure. Have a great rest of the night, guys.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Laura.
Bye, Sarah.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Tim. Bye-bye.